Let's call this meeting for the Iowa City Airport Commission to order. We have a quorum, 5 members present. First item is to approve minutes from the last meeting.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'll abstain because I wasn't there.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Meeting minutes approved. Next up, public comment for any items that are not on the agenda. Seeing any members of the public present or online. Next item. Items for discussion, action. First item is the Community Foundation Airport Fundraiser.
Just following up on the chain of events, last month we approved the fund statement. This is the agreement with the Community Foundation to run the program. I believe the fee was 3% at the withdrawal. Yep. But beyond that, everything, I didn't notice anything particular in the agreement. I don't think. Jennifer, did you have any other
I think
comments?
it tracked with what Shelley presented.
Yep.
So unless there was anything, anybody had questions about follow-up from her
It looks-
presentation. This is
Looks good.
just their document to formalize.
I move that we consider a resolution authorizing the chair to execute an agreement with the Community Foundation of Johnson County to establish a designated fund to be known as the Iowa City Municipal Airport Charitable.
A second. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
Looks good to me.
Well, roll call. Chris.
Aye.
Electra.
Aye.
Scott. Aye. Warren.
Aye.
Judy.
Aye.
Motion carried. Resolution carries. Next up are the FAA and DOT projects.
Yeah. Second to
We're going
catch
too
up.
fast for it.
Okay, 725 Rehab East End and Threshold relocation. A couple of things here. We did have our pre-construction conference with the contractors for the 25 work. Tentative plans right now are for work to begin on June 15th. There will be about 22 days worth of daytime closures, I think was the plan. They've got a 6-hour window for the full intersection closure, which will close the airport for those 6 hours. And then it was another 3 to 4 days, however long it takes for pavement to cure, closure of the 725 runway when they do the patchwork. The way everything was lining up, they were going to do a lot of the patching and crack sealing or joint sealing and all of that type of work up front with the daytime closures. So I would expect probably within the first couple of weeks of the project getting started, that pavement closure happening. And then towards the end of it will be the 6-hour closure as they get the painting done, because we won't do the painting until the very end after the joint sealants and pavement maintenance is done.
What was the estimated completion date?
August 15th. 12th? 12th.
I think it's the 12th.
Sorry.
Hopefully with the amount of working days they have when they're going to start. And we're hoping they're done a little earlier than
Yeah.
that.
And I'm not gonna start.
June 15th. So
And the daytime closure, is that 8 to 5?
we're working to
Sunrise
define that a
sunset?
little bit better.
Okay.
I don't have a good end date. Usually they work till about 5 unless they're on overtime. So,
And then when
but
they're
we're working to
done,
clarify
they-
that with the,
They'll be able to reopen.
Yeah.
They are supposed to, they're supposed to open the runway for night operations every night, except there's about 3 to 5 days in there, depending when they do the patching.
Yeah,
We can't open it up because the odds of somebody hitting the little patch of wet concrete that isn't quite cured yet are about 100%.
yeah.
Is there an industry standard of what, because this happens all the time at airports, that there's night closures or whatever, is there a standard, it's 5 o'clock is night, or 6 o'clock is night?
I would, like Mike said, they would have to be paying their employees overtime at federal wage rates if they go, too long a days. Now, that said, if they have days where they can't work and they get behind,
So
I'm sure they'll be
it'll
working.
a moving thing as opposed to a.
Yeah, I would guess it's gonna be regularly, probably an 8 to 5 most of the time, but again, if they're scheduled, if they start getting behind, I could definitely see them working, until it starts to get dark. I mean,
And is there a possibility of times where they say that they're not gonna work on the weekends, so they'll leave it open?
Yeah,
over the weekend?
Yeah.
yeah. If they're not working on it, it'll be open.
Okay, so it's 5 days.
So they have working days and I would think, again, they typically would have to pay their employees more.
Yeah,
So they're gonna stick to probably much a 40-hour, 5-day-a-week work week as long as they stay on schedule.
yeah, sure.
If they start getting behind schedule and they're not, then they could, I mean, they have the ability to go longer
Sure.
hours during the day or at night to catch up if they need to.
And so is there some designated person who will communicate to Mike and I when to put notems out and stuff like
Yeah.
that, when we can leave them and stuff like that?
They'll be working through Kitsy and I, and also the superintendent there will, I mean, we'll all be in coordination on that.
So we buy beer, so they might open up runway.
You can try it. I don't know if it'll work. You're welcome to
Yeah,
try.
that's true. There's no runway lines, so not be straight.
But they'll be lit,
Yeah.
both the lights and the employees.
The FAA PAP equipment should be getting here in probably 3 weeks, I would imagine.
Okay.
We kind of, in a way, we had to tell them the start date, and then they said, okay, about 30 days prior, we kind of order it from Washington, and then they have it shipped here to the airport. And that was a week, 10 days ago, so I'm guessing about 3 weeks or so when it should be showing up.
Is it still the case that we cannot put a runway closure notification on the AWAS?
Correct.
Which is a
We still do
shame.
not have access to AWAS because it's an FAA owned system.
That's no shame.
The nice part is with it just being daytime closures for the most part, is we can monitor Unicom
Yes,
and really be vigilant, which we are typically doesn't, without need, but this time we'll be need where you read, hey,
yeah,
you just call in for a runway that's closed.
yeah.
We, Carl, as part of this project, do we have the lighted X's?
We're going to be using the airport's lighted X's.
Okay, good. So somebody, if you land after that,
Now, that said,
you
I
belong to
have,
the insurance.
in my career, I've had aircraft land on closed runways that were properly closed. The lights they were notated out, the regulators were turned off, there were big X's in place. And twice aircraft have just come in, don't know why, I'm having to land over these big X's in there,
Yeah.
So everybody, I mean, we tell the contractor this, but anybody that's out there, be vigilant, because, you
Because
can't
there are
protect against
stupid people.
stupidity, and there's some people out there that are.
So we just have the 2 X's, so that they put up and remove barricades.
Well, they'll have barricades that will keep people from getting into those areas, and that they'll have to pull those off to the side at night.
Okay.
And if you want to look after the meeting, I can show you, if you look where those are going to be. And I've got that.
No, that's fine.
No, I was just curious how if the only source of closure information was notems, we all, well, most of us know how that system is. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, everything.
You've got the X's. Now, of course, during the day, it's, turning off the lights, it's no big deal, but they're going to be turning off because they're working on it. So, they're going to be off until they're back and ready to energize again. And there'll be barricades to keep people from taxiing.
Yep.
So,
That works.
Cool.
and they are required to have someone with a radio on site at all times.
Oh, good deal. Okay. Is there a radio that's on?
It'd be on your
CTAL?
traffic.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
The other half of that is with the rebid. Bolton and Mink did incur some extra work to redo the plans or update the plans, and we had publication and other costs to redo that process. FAA has determined all of those costs are eligible for reimbursement, so we are proposing an amendment to the work order. It increases the total cost by $10,000. And again, that covers both segments of the lighting, relocation work, and the runway rehab oversight. So.
Well, I propose a resolution approving this amendment to work order number 4 with Bolton and Mink for professional services related to the runway 725 threshold relocation and runway 725 rehabilitation east end project.
Second?
Any discussion? Roll call. Chris.
Aye.
Electra.
Aye.
Scott, aye. Warren.
Aye.
Judy.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Hangar.
All right, South T hangers. If you would like to open the public hearing.
All right.
I realize there's not many public here, but
Opening this commission meeting to public hearing.
plans are in the packet. Again, I did not bring my folders up here. As the plans detailed, we're looking at primarily the first three hangars on the east side at the south end, working our way north as the base bid with two additional alternates to catch the whole side if we get extremely lucky and are able to do that. Otherwise, it's pretty basic scenario. Take the current doors off, put on new doors. There'll be electric. There's some electric modifications that need to happen just because there is no power switches and all that fun stuff into that particular hangar. So we'll have some new circuitry running. Anything else? I'm kind of
Are we on that one?
Yeah.
The hangar door?
The hangar door.
Doors or south hangar infrastructure?
Technically, it should be the south hangar infrastructure. I started talking about the hangar doors. I'm sorry.
Do you need these, Mike? I brought these in case you need them. This-
I don't particularly need them. It's the plan sheets were in the packet, so everybody's had an opportunity to see those.
Yeah.
These are funded by state grants, and I guess if there's any other questions about the project.
The infrastructure project, or what?
The infrastructure project.
I'm glad somebody said it, because I was like, not using it. Not-
Sorry.
It's okay.
Totally separate.
You said that we
Two
were
parts.
doing hangar doors from south to north, so, you know, I get it.
I thought, wow, I thought the hangars down there were pretty good shape.
So any public questions or comments at this time? If not, then we will close the public hearing. Any further discussion by the committee? Do we have any motion for resolution?
Resolution approving plan specifications.
No.
It's not that one.
No, you're right. It's that one. Sorry.
It's
Too many things.
Come on.
You got it. You got it.
I move to approve the resolution, resolution approving plan specification, form of contract, estimate of cost for construct, confirmed tax lane or hangars, project at the Iowa City Municipal Airport.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Roll call. Chris?
Aye.
Electra?
Aye.
Scott, aye. Warren?
Aye.
Judy?
Aye.
Resolution passes.
Okay.
All right, now we'll talk about the hangar
Hangar door.
replacement.
Okay.
All right, hereby open this discussion for public hearing.
Yeah, you just heard my spiel about the hangar doors, starting from the
Yeah.
south to the north.
Yeah.
Base bids, 3 doors with 2 alternates. At this point, I just hope we can get the first 3 done.
Does it specify a door design or model or anything like that?
No, in all honesty, there's only a couple companies that do this kind of retrofitting doors. So we kind of know probably what it's likely to be, but it's worded so that
It can
anybody
be in there.
manufacturer, yeah.
Yeah.
It's also likely because of the unknown with the age of the hangars and the unknown, that it does specify that it basically install a frame with footings that will support, almost self-support the door with minimal support required from the old building.
It's like a higher power type door without.
It's not a higher, it's, the most common one in this part of the country is Midland Doors. They do a lot of this.
Sure.
And there were others, but they're the ones that are by far the most common in the upper Midwest.
Gotcha.
What
I
style
mean,
of
if you're
doors will these
interested,
be?
they did a
Bifolds.
replacement,
Bifolds.
almost the same type of work at Benton Airport. They had 2 that blew off in the derecho. And they came in and replaced 2 of those, and
If it didn't blow off.
they only had some that blew off. and everything
Like
else.
the-
That's-
Like what we currently have, yeah.
This is,
Where-
now we do, just because of cost, we have specified with their cable. I don't think we specified straps.
Okay.
Because it is an additional cost.
Gotcha. I was so made of cables and boards.
Yeah, they do, but
All right, is there any more discussion or questions by the public at this time? If not, we'll hereby close the public hearing. Move to the commission, any discussion?
I move we consider a resolution approving plans, specs, form of contracts, and estimate on cost to replace hangar doors phase one project.
Second.
Second. All right, we'll take roll call. Chris.
Aye.
Electra.
Aye.
Scott, aye. Warren.
Aye.
Judy.
Aye.
The resolution passes. Next up, is a bipartisan infrastructure.
I don't have anything really new for that one, other than Carl and I have talked a couple of times about putting, and they're working on their scope for the terminal area study, planning study, so that we can throw that to the FAA as well as the solar power project, and we can throw both of those at the FAA and say, here's what at least we want to use BIL money for. Give us feedback, or expect us to apply for grants at the next cycle.
And what will the terminal area study?
So the terminal area study, it'll probably be easier to grab. Yeah. Basically, what we're looking at is the footprint of the terminal building, kind of the parking area that surrounds here. And then we're going to extend down and almost a square at each end of the terminal and just go straight. So you get the access road, you get the frontage. And then this whole thing will be kind of the terminal area study.
So it's more for landscaping?
Well, I mean, that can be part of it. Primarily, we need to figure out spacing, just how much space, what kind of space we need. We also have to be a little bit cautious of how we designate certain spaces, because the FAA only pays for certain things, because good old regulations and funding and government being government.
It's going to include the plane.
Yeah,
that
it
area.
would include
Yeah.
the entryway, the entry drive, so, and the terminal building, parking around the terminal.
Because I-
Basically, it's a land site study.
Yeah,
Okay, 'cause, yeah, my feeling is we should, as a commission, be thinking in terms of what we can do with the terminal building and perhaps much talked about restaurant and
and I'm sure, I'm sure there's,
any additional office space that's required.
Right.
These sorts of things.
yep,
So I think you're seeing this as the first step towards
Yeah.
some development.
I think so, yeah. I think,
I was just at the Pella Airport a couple of days ago. They have just a gorgeous building, and I wonder if that was partially paid for by the Pella Corporation. Do you happen to know?
Or from here.
I
Yeah.
I don't remember. Pella and Newton both, I think, had corporate sponsorship on their buildings. Because Newton at the time that was built was Whirlpool.
Ah. Well,
Um,
I wonder if we should be thinking.
I don't remember the terminal building. I had my check right, I was stressing about it.
Yeah, but
It used to be just a small brick building, is that what it is now, or is it?
It looks like a little Dutch house. you know?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I
just
don't remember.
very, very nice on the outside and the inside.
The other one's really nice as a tunnel. They've got a nice one.
Yeah.
But they've got that heritage that they pulled from, because I didn't realize they were.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mail train station.
World War II, so.
And that kind of does bring up the other half of that conversation, where if there are terminals you've been to that have features that are nice that you would maybe like to see replicated, or not necessarily replicated, but thought of or thought about, certainly pass those along. But we'll have a lot of conversations and
Yeah,
in the
the
upcoming-
restaurant sort of place, one to think about is the one at Rochelle,
Yeah.
Illinois.
There's also one at Naperville, Pilot Pete's.
Right.
Would we be competing with the restaurants downtown?
And we're not gonna get in the business of doing restaurant.
Okay,
It's more of
Just-
if we were to create space claim for a business that.
that want to look for some, okay.
I don't think we want to get in the business of competing with them. But if there's.
I worked in a
Okay.
restaurant when I was in high school. I don't intend to do that
Yeah. I
And,
did,
and part of this market study too,
Yeah.
to see if there is. I
An
think part of
interest
that
or
will-
anything.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, when we first talked about this, the pandemic was raging, and the restaurateurs around here were not the least bit interested in
yeah.
okay,
sticking
yeah.
their necks out. You know?
Unless you have a lot of outdoor space.
Yeah,
Well, you do. We just have to close down the airport.
It'd be fun, it's a fun discussion, because you can, really, sky's the limit
Yeah.
of lots of things.
Yeah.
yeah,
There's one that I saw, of course, it ended up happening, that it was, Bulky, the company that leased airplanes to the Caribbean. They were gonna build an FBO that had a built-in hotel.
Mhm.
Two-story big hotel for people to fly, in. Of course, which there would be super valuable, because you're trying to find places for cruise, and, unique for them, there's not a cheap place for cruise,
Yeah.
it's accessible right there. Tough case here, really, thinking of just things like
Different, yeah.
that, that's so much a possibility.
Does anybody remember the old Cedar Rapids terminal before 86?
Mhm. That you had to
How
walk
they had,
through.
they had that convex front glass. and
You
then
could
they had
watch
inside
people
there,
land.
Was it 3 rows of tiered table seating?
I don't remember
And
that
you
part.
could go eat dinner and watch the aircraft come and go. People walk, that was of course when people walked
Walk
walked
down
up
the
the
plane,
steps
yeah.
and stuff to the aircraft.
Oh, sure.
But I mean, I remember going out with my parents as a child and it was just so neat. You were right there, be able to watch
Watching the
aviation.
front.
Yeah.
There are not very many places like that anymore.
right.
For the redoing of the area, I did call is this where to talk about the jet Air Force? Okay. I got a hold of the person at the Air Force Museum.
Mhm.
And yes, they would want the jet back.
Mhm.
And we would have to pay to get it there unless they have people who want some of these for other places, like they might want it in front of their airport or
Mhm.
whatever,
No, no, no.
in which case they pay for it.
Right.
But we'd need a lead time to let them know for maybe a year or two, so they can contact these other people who would want this specific plane. We
Oh,
sent
so they would go-
pictures.
They would go out and dance.
Yes, they would take care of trying to find a home for it. We sent pictures and gave details of it, sent your history of it,
Mhm.
and they were very excited about it.
Great.
Oh,
So,
especially if we pay for it.
well, no,
They
they,
would-
no, they would pay for it. If they want it, they pay to move it.
Oh, if they will.
If they want it, they pay to move
So
it.
this would not be the Air Force, this would be another airport or.
It's someplace-
Off someone else. but
Somebody
if the
else
Air
who wants
Force
it.
Wants it, we.
If we can't find anybody else, or they can't find anybody else who wants it, then we pay to get it back to the museum.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Got one of those, where they go? Got one of those SR-71s hanging around?
Yeah, I'd like one of those, yeah.
Maybe it'll be
We
52.
we could do a trip, yeah.
I've been to that museum, there's a lot of good stuff there, they've got
Yeah.
this whole like exchange program, I'm all in.
Yeah.
I don't think that was it.
No, that's.
Appreciate that. That's.
That'll
so
take
you,
care of your whole front.
Go ahead and ask them to start.
Yeah.
I said I couldn't ask yet because I didn't know the timing of this. Are we looking at 5 years? Are we looking at 2 years?
Okay, fair
Until we start coming up with this, at least starting the study, they at least know that we have this here and eventually we want to
Okay,
do it. So, yeah, if we come up with a time to start the study, I can give them. It's just, we don't want to have it moved before we have
that's a place to go.
a replacement of something that would irritate many people.
Get the second one.
I thought you were going over there to open it up so we could see what the jet was.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
It was
Getting me
reflecting.
like.
Yeah.
I've seen those.
You've seen those, yeah.
They're cool.
FY23 DOT grant application, in the packet was kind of the 5-year outlook, but your handout, I did give the full application packet. So just kind of walking through where we're at. And as previously discussed, applying for phase 2 of the hangar doors for the north end. So whatever we don't get done this year, we turn around, reapply for more money to keep rolling on it. That becomes project 1. The terminal building upgrade, so the bubble window to replace the
board.
Plywood.
the plywood, yeah, the baggage claim window, old X window. That becomes project 2. Both of those would be Gavi program applications. And then
Remind us what the API stands for.
general aviation vertical infrastructure. And then the other one would be the next phase of South Hangar, right?
No, the monument sign was the other one.
Oh, the monument sign, that's the other one. And then I think that uses up kind of our local match between that and the FAA project, so. Future years, we do go back to the south and then we do 24.
Next year.
I think in that one, we had 25 for the fuel farm. Or did we move that up to 24 in the email that Kitsy sent me?
I can look at it.
You've got a fuel and filter vessel.
Okay, 24. That is to catch the front end of the cabinet, so that's where the fuel comes in and out of the storage system. And that equipment is just as old as those original tanks were, so that's pushing 30 years. And we have been having some sporadic issues with it, but I think now that I've had a chance to talk to Michael and Andrew and how they're operating everything with the new fuel tank. I think we've got a good idea to help them help the system. Basically, I think they were trying to do some things that the system quite wasn't designed for, which was not really great. But now that they have a better understanding of how the system was set up and what it's supposed to be able to do, they've changed how they load up fuel. And I think it's working a little bit better. We've got a couple other things to do. So.
Do you need any other action from the commission?
Usually we do some type of consensus to apply for it. The main approvals come when we get a grant awards and accept the grants. But if everybody is okay, this would be the package we put together and have Scott sign and we'll submit.
That's great, yeah.
Hearing that we don't have any objections.
Okay.
All right, airport operations.
I guess for me, the biggest thing is the city clerk's office had a minute taker, a minute writer that would do city council and some other board and commission minute writing. They did ours. That person has left their position and the city clerk's office is going to do a automated voice to text system because they need more of a transcription versus our minutes that just summarize the conversation. So it appears I will be taking on the role of minute writer.
Oh, good.
No, writer. I will be writing the first draft.
So this will go voice to text, but then you have.
No, it's not even. I'm going to take the recording and just re-listen to what we did, and I get to write the first draft, unless our secretary wants to have actual secretary duties.
That would
Now that you
be,
bring that up, have we ever got his job description?
No, I don't believe, well, I can follow up on that. I think we got something. But that's a good question.
Beyond that, under the management term, I don't have just the basic management. I don't have anything.
Actually, if you're taking the notes, you've pretty much got it already.
I mean, I'm at the meeting, so it's,
And
yeah,
and you've already got the
it's
handouts of
fresh,
everything,
yeah.
so you can just add in between.
it's not, I mean, even, so roughly, however long the meeting is, it takes about twice as long to write the minutes, just because you do want to listen to the conversation again
Yeah.
and make sure you're not missing any of the key points.
yeah.
Okay.
But beyond that, it's
I mean, I would
not a
love-
terrible
I would be
list.
willing to try, but the vocabulary and all that, I don't know that I would be very helpful.
Well, honestly, that's why I liked having the other person doing them, because I know what all of this stuff is supposed to mean. And I get into the habit of, I
Shortening it.
just shorten everything down. And then I forget that, hey, the general public probably doesn't know what Gavi means or pappies or reels. So I do tend to have that problem. Now, I'm perfectly capable of writing the minutes. It's not a huge lift, but if you want to give it a shot, you're more than welcome to. I will
Think
not
about it.
argue with that.
I would think.
She's being Midwest polite.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm not.
There might also be some sort of a voice to text system.
Well, there is. I mean, we could use the same system. The thing becomes, we don't have to have a transcription.
Yeah.
And I have tried that before with the system the city has, and it does create a lot more work.
Yeah, you have to really
Yeah.
edit all. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I'm
Because-
sure there's multiple transcription errors as well.
yes.
The system's not terrible but it does have its moments where it doesn't
Yeah.
understand what you're trying to say.
And have like 3 different discussions at once, just like we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no way that system
No.
catches up. So
Yeah.
like, it's just,
Yeah.
unlike city council, which is very like regimented, it just won't work.
Yeah, it can be rough.
So now we crew.
So just, know that that's going to be something that gets, put on my plate. And
We'll endeavor to keep our meetings shorter.
And we'll say, let the record show.
That sounds good. Okay. So,
Airport terminal area, parking lot, just display jet. We kind of touched on that with
Yeah.
the grant application process about setting up the terminal area
Mhm.
study and having all of that together. Operations Commission Handbook. Actually, Judy, I haven't gotten a good start on it. I have your list of what you've done for your book, and I kind of want to duplicate that. However, at some point in time, probably in the next week or so, I want to sit down with you and kind of walk through where things are at the city level and see how best to translate that into a book, because a lot of the stuff we're looking for is online.
and that's,
We just have to figure out how to get it accessible
Yeah.
to commission members.
and can I add one more thing on that? I was trying to explain to a friend. She was asking about the commission and said, the airport doesn't do much, does it? And I said, wait a minute. So I tried to explain it and I said, well, just go onto the website and find out about it. So she went on the city website
Yeah.
for the airport meeting, but it doesn't talk about to get on to the one that has the history and all that, as far as she could find it. Now, am I missing something?
There should be a couple. So if you go to the city website, the icgov.org /airport, there should be some tabs on the
But
right-hand side.
Airport Commission,
Airport Commission just specifically talks about the Airport Commission.
but it seems like in there someplace it should mention,
Under the airport, there is. So there's the
Connect.
airport, and then there's sub-tabs, airport commission, airport history, airport.
yes, you have to go find that. But if you're
Yeah.
looking under Airport Commission, you don't
No.
see what the
because-
Airport Commission is involved with.
Well, you just see our names and then we meet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of,
okay,
and that's what those
That's what
pages
they
at the
want.
city are supposed to be. Just specific board information where the individual stuff is on the airport page. So the history
yeah,
of the airport and
Okay.
finding, if you click on the link to find where you
Yeah,
would get
you can find it other ways
the
around.
minutes, you can
but
find the archives and all of that stuff. So you can see everything we've
Okay.
done.
I was just hoping to have it more obvious. but-
It's,
Okay, it
Should
fits
be.
their
There
standards.
should be a link on that page, though, to our main website. Isn't there?
But the airport one, but not the airport commission.
Airport Commission doesn't.
yeah, the airport commission basically just lists when our meetings are and then who's on
Yeah.
the commission and the duties of the commission.
Okay,
It's film agreement.
Film agreement. So not very often, but once in a blue moon, I get a request for somebody to come down to the airport and just film stuff. Yeah, it could be for their own use. It could be for commercial use. It could be, this one happens to be a person that's producing a feature film. They
Need
actually,
extras.
well, I don't think so, but if I hear word, we can pass it along.
Did you review the agreement, Jennifer?
I did, yeah, there was one that was provided to Mike, and then I took a look at it and added some things. The one thing it doesn't have in there are insurance requirements. Which it sounds like it's a pretty low risk situation. I talked to the person in the city that does insurance stuff, and really it's kind of up to the commission if you're okay with proceeding without having the insurance requirement.
When do they want to?
To be determined. The initial conversation was towards the end of June, second half of June.
Okay. Why don't you talk with me? I actually handled this for the year.
Oh, yeah.
So I can take a look at it.
Yeah.
Just to give you some color.
Cause I think it's out front is
Yeah.
where they wanna film. It's not, I mean,
Won't be back by the planes.
No, they just want to do an exterior shot of the building. The scene as it was described to me is an exterior shot of the building. There's a couple of folks that are waiting to be picked up and they have a handful of lines of dialogue. And they liked the airport because it had municipal airport as opposed to an actual name.
Oh, okay.
So it, that generic airport
Gotcha.
name can fit anywhere.
Nice.
Kind of art deco.
Yeah, just to get what
Okay.
they can.
okay, yeah, we have the draft. I can shoot over to you. Yeah, thank you.
But I have turned down other requests that are a little bit more invasive where they wanted to use the inside of the terminal building and it just becomes too disruptive to day-to-day operations. This one didn't feel like it'd be, and with it being in June, they wanted to do it just like a sunset shoot. And that's going to be at 9 o'clock at night.
Right.
It's,
Okay.
so that's that. If this one, I don't really have an approval on it, we can bring it back, or if you want to authorize Scott to sign an agreement based on information.
And I think if between you and Jennifer, if you guys are okay with it, I'm okay with it.
That's up to the commission. It would, the only reason I bring that up is because I don't know exactly when they want to shoot, and it does kind of mitigate that. We only meet once a month, and having to have a special meeting where we can. You've seen the agreement. I can't imagine it's going to change too drastically from what we presented.
We need a
As a
formal
draft.
motion in that respect.
Probably a motion would be better for the
I
minutes.
move that we allow our chairman to sign an agreement for the film operation.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes.
Works for me. Okay, budget. This is May, so we've got about a month and a half left of our fiscal budget. All in all, things are okay. We are getting our year-end stuff. We have had some cooling issues in the terminal building that, thanks to our heat wave this week has exposed, but we're getting those fixed as best we can. I don't know if anything dramatic that we're going to see between now and then.
Is this the place to bring up about the AE defibrillator?
Yeah, you're welcome to.
In the budget, I saw where it had the safety check for, what was it, the smoke detectors or whatever it was.
Our annual fire
Annual
extinguisher
fires.
checks.
Yeah, and I was wondering if maybe in the terminal someplace we should have one of those defibrillators. I mean, there is the ambulance thing over there, but it seems like we should still have something.
It's a
And
public building. It's a very reasonable thing. to
Yeah.
have.
I have no idea how much those cost.
And
So
so
we-
how are those typically paid for? Are those typically,
you can, our church just got one because there was a Kerber, Dr. Kerber, anyway, with cardiology was involved. And so you request it, they can give it to you. They do request if possible that you can help pay $1,000 towards it or, whatever. So it's not that expensive.
yeah.
And it's the ones that anybody, you can open it up and it talks you through.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So anyway,
I can check on the cost because we have one in every office.
okay.
We have one in our office.
I think we should at least have one in the main part of the terminal that people can see.
Yeah, I'm looking online. I see a range of prices from
Yeah.
like $800 to $1,800.
Yeah,
And you Amazon Prime.
I'm sure you can. Yeah, I'm sure you can.
but it seems like something we should have here
Yeah.
as part of that
For next meeting.
check.
Hopefully have some folks present here, a proposal and
Yeah.
vote on it next time.
Works for
When
me.
you say they will pay part of it, who is they? Do you know?
So,
It's the,
American Heart Association?
no, it's a Kerber something or other, cardiac memorial, something or other. I can get the information on it.
That'd be great.
all right,
And I'll get it to you.
Okay, I'll try to find out how, where we got ours.
Mhm.
anything else on budgets?
I don't particularly have anything.
Events?
Events, just rolling down the calendar of events. Haven't had anything set up with the Young Eagles yet at this point. Primarily because up until Monday of this week, I didn't quite know what the schedule for the runways were going to be. So we'll work with them and see if we can't do something maybe towards probably the latter end of the summer, just because the runway is going to be
Mhm.
potentially closed for a good chunk of the middle when we usually do that kind of stuff. Still don't have the pancake breakfast on the list, but that's the last Sunday of August.
Carl?
Yeah.
Stepping back to the runway closures, what are we looking like the week of Oshkosh?
What's the
Last
date?
week of July.
Last week of July? Because I know you guys have fuel sales and we get lots of people that
Lots
stop.
of traffic in there, yeah.
You know, we'll look, I'm hoping that by then they're getting close to being done.
Yeah.
But there's a time in there towards after they've got and they're ready to move the threshold and they've got the patching and all that done. They're also going to be painting and that will. But we can look at that week and I can talk to the contractor at a time.
It's a pretty heavy traffic for this.
Yeah.
It's where it gets stopover for people that want to.
We're good stuff.
We're an excellent stopover for that.
Usually the 4 days leading up to it,
Yeah.
and then, yeah, the middle's pretty light.
Yeah.
Days at
Last
the end.
4 days,
Yeah, last,
last 4 days.
So that whole week is going to be.
We would be going into the kind of Thursday, what is it, like the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday into it, and then kind of the same thing on the tail end, but Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Mhm. Mhm. Typically,
Mhm.
and a lot of that traffic can use the shorter runway.
Yes.
But
It can.
But it's just scary when somebody's looking at cross country, and they look at node closures, they're like, well, I can go somewhere else.
I can go to Washington. I can go to
Exactly.
Fairfield, I can go to.
Okay, I'll look at that.
All right.
We don't, the only thing is we don't want to lose our window for the approaches this
No,
year.
no, no.
No, yeah, push comes to shove.
Yeah, that definitely takes priority.
I don't think that it will. I mean, that was just,
Anything else on the airport operations side? FU?
Trip over the.
Just plain manual.
Just take one, pass around. As far as April, we were still in winter in April, and then now it's pure summer. But we had just a lot of little things. Obviously, we had the transition, removing the snow removal equipment, making sure that everything is set up for more so summer type operations. Some fuel farm maintenance, which is where Mike was just talking about, maybe getting the front halves of the fuel farm replaced would be awesome. That would be a big deal just because all that stuff is aged and used a lot. So there's some maintenance for that. And then trash. We had so much wind that we just had constant trash blowing in and blowing out of the back of vehicles and all sorts of stuff. That ends up being a pretty common summer project. So far in May, 'cause we're already partway into it, we've been able to get the new zero turn mower. So they've been using that some. They've already put probably 10 hours on it or more. And so that's in service, which is great. Look, when you mow, you actually get some satisfaction that you actually did something as opposed to it looking like Anyway, I don't know what a good example is that it looked like, but not good.
A bad haircut.
A bad haircut. So anyway, so that's nice to have that up and going. There'll be a lot of the standard, we did a job shadow day the other day with some high school kids and mentioned offhand that we could potentially use some summer help. We're gonna have having like 4 of the high school kids that wanted to help, which was too many.
Yeah.
So not sure, not that it's all that high demand of a job, but there's some interest in that. So we're planning on picking up some additional help this summer to try to take on some of those projects. We've got lots of little things that we need to get done. And so anyway, Andrew showed me his list yesterday. It was two pages handwritten, single spaced of just little projects that we need to do. But if you guys have any specific things that have been bothering or burdensome that you would like to get knocked out in some of those summer projects, let us know. On the Jet Air side of things, it sounds like we're gonna have a Cirrus event on June 16th. That'll be some sort of, I'm guessing it's gonna be invitation to a certain degree, but I think that we could have people come, anybody who wants to come. But Cirrus Aircraft, they're a manufacturer, they're planning on bringing in a brand new Vision Jet and a brand new Cirrus SR-22 and probably a 20, I'm not sure. And they basically invite out people that are pilots or people that they think have meet whatever their specifications are for somebody who could potentially buy one of their brand new airplanes. They have a big event. We've been in, part of what has led to that is we've been toying with the idea, there's a potential possibility of doing a Cirrus training center with somebody involved in bringing in a new one on like a lease back type scenario. And so we'll see. It's never happens until it happens type of deal, but we give an update if that looks like it's gonna come. But they came down, we wined and dined them last week and got them convinced that wouldn't be such a bad idea.
That's just after the runway project starts.
I told them that on the phone yesterday to remember, because the Vision Jet can get in on the short runway. So that probably won't be too bad of a deal. The biggest impact will be kind of our size of airplanes. But we are all for the runway improvements and changes. And so whatever needs to happen to get that done. In terms of the budget, one thing I mentioned to Mike today too is our shop air conditioner is probably done. It was new at the building, so it's 20 years old, 22 plus years old, right? This is 20
something.
It hasn't, for the last 3 years, it hasn't really been keeping up very well, but now it's really not, it gets itself worked down to about 70 by the time the sun goes up, and then it works its way back up to 85 by the end of the day. So anyway, I don't know, on stuff like that, do you try to hit it before the budget cycle or?
Stuff like that, it would be nice to plan for, yes.
Yeah.
Rather than having pop up, $4 or $5 grand worth of HVAC stuff.
Is there anything left over in this year's budget to squeeze in or?
Not really.
Okay, anyway.
We already had our budget hits with the heaters.
Oh, sure.
But
We'll
figure it out.
We'll talk
We'll
about
figure
that,
it out.
yeah.
We'll get you cooled off.
One thing that we've been helping out with too is Kirkwood Community College is launching their A&P program, which is gonna happen in a fall of 23. So not this fall, but the next fall. And so Kirkwood, yeah. So it'll be at the Cedar Rapids Airport, yep, which is awesome. The only downside is they hired our shop foreman several months ago to go start the program. But we helped them buy a citation, actually. It got delivered last Thursday. So we found it for them and helped them get it as a cheap airplane. But the nice part is it's the same model, an older version with the same model as what we currently maintain and invest in and stuff like that. So it's a really good fit for them, and it's also good kind of for us from a future employment standpoint to have something that's applicable that they can work on. So anyway, so that's exciting, but that was already delivered up there last week. So we're helping switch out engines right now.
Is it just like, what's the scope of the program that you're launched to?
So far, it'll be launched as just an airframe and power plant program. So they've got a Cessna 150 that was donated to them. they bought the citation, which is, I mean, they bought it, but it was a really good value. And then they have their eyes out to try to find some sort of a piston multi-engine airplane to be able to work on turbochargers and you know, other pressurization systems and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the plan, is just an airframe and power plant license, which I think is awesome. I think that's totally needed. And now that with the big push, sales tax on aircraft parts and labor has passed the House and the Senate. It hasn't been signed yet by the governor, to the best of my knowledge.
I don't think so.
But
Forgot to look.
but with that change, that'll help entice maintenance business to Iowa and stuff like that.
So they're training maintenance people.
The training mechanics, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Which is awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I should have spelled that out too. Yeah. Yeah. But no, it's gonna be really good to have a source for that. We've found that mechanics typically, you know, if they're trained here, they stay here a lot more so than pilots that trained here and then they fly wherever they get the bigger, faster airplanes. You know,
Mm.
so to be honest, it's gonna be a great thing for Jet Air, but also for all the other maintenance facilities around and could spur a lot of future growth. So,
Mhm.
so yeah. Any questions for me? All right, cool. Have a good night.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any reports from any commission members?
Already brought up all my stuff.
A quick question, what are staff reports?
What are staff reports?
We've had you talk, we've talked, what's it? We was in the staff report, whatever that means.
It's just an opportunity. If there was anything that doesn't quite make the agenda that I need to deliver, usually it's my vacation time.
Oh.
Stuff like that, or if Jennifer has something that she needs to say. But for this staff report, the 2 seats occupied by Warren and Judy come up for reappointment this year. They expire at the end of June. Both have filled out applications. The council is set to evaluate applications at their meeting on Tuesday. So if the council usually likes to hear from boards and commissions when people are doing well, and it might be a good idea if everybody chooses to maybe submit something and send them
We
a
should
quick
get some
note that
people
just
to-
says, hey, these
Yeah.
people have been great. Please reappoint them. I do not know if there are any other applicants for the seats.
Template letter? I don't think so.
I don't think there is. It's kind of just a quick note. Yeah, just a little personal,
Oh, yeah,
but I want to throw that out there just to make sure everybody was aware.
I think you could just send like an email to the clerk, the city clerk, and ask her to pass it on to the council. I mean, you could do a more formal letter too, if you want.
I've always emailed the city council members just stuff directly.
Yeah, you
Because
can
their
do
email
that.
addresses are published. Just be like, hey, I'm on the airport commission. I really enjoy contributing to the community. You know, like flower up, but like, you know, it's never really been 2 times. Yeah, great. I
Could do all of them.
I sent one to all of them, but I sent them individually. So it looked like I was, you know, addressing them instead of, you know, yeah.
Do you know if anybody else has applied?
I have not seen the application list, so I do not.
Okay, just curious. Okay,
I think they come out as attachments to the packet.
Mhm.
So they would be on their website once the packet's posted.
And then I will probably be out. A small chance I'll be out of the office somewhere around the Memorial Day holiday. I just don't know what, and if that's going to be needed and which end of the holiday it's going to be. And it'll only be for a day, so.
Anything else we have otherwise?
excuse me.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.